Hi, I'm Sam with Family Heritage. I just want to start by thanking you for clicking on this video. But more importantly, I want you to take a moment and thank yourself. You may not realize this yet, but you're in a position to make an incredibly smart decision, not just for yourself, but for those you care about the most. You're in the right place at the right time, and I am so excited to share this opportunity with you today. Today, we're going to talk about the heart attack and stroke plan here that we have at Family Heritage. So let's hop right in. The American Heart Association says that 1 out of 3 deaths in the United States is linked to a heart condition. It's the most common death amongst both men and women, and every 40 seconds in this country, someone will suffer from a heart attack or stroke. Common risk factors include your genome, tobacco use, stress, diabetes, things like that. Understanding these risks can help, but when something happens, it can still be very emotionally and financially expensive. So this is the most important part of what we do. And when you understand this, you'll understand why we work with over 13 million policyholders here nationwide. And if this makes sense to you, it'll probably be something you want to participate in as well. So there's 2 types of costs associated with anything major health-wise. We're not here to talk about your doctor bills. This is what your health insurance is for. So we actually have nothing to do with that part. So what I talk to folks about is the hidden portion of the iceberg, the indirect costs. This is the thing that sunk the Titanic ship and is typically the hidden expenses that sink people's finances. Indirect costs are the leading cause of bankruptcy in this country, and this is just what we get to protect people from. Does anything come to mind for you when you hear of hidden or indirect costs associated with something like a heart attack? The biggest indirect cost is simply just that lost income. I mean, if you're not working, you're not making money, and everything kind of snowballs from there. Obviously, your bills of life don't slow down at all if you're not working. Still have to pay for rent, mortgage, maybe a car payment or 2. I know food's not getting any cheaper in this country nowadays. And these are all the bills that we know about and we plan for every month. But when something unexpected like a heart attack happens, you also get bills you don't plan for. Even with the best of insurance, you have limitations with copayments and deductibles. And if you don't have health insurance, you're paying for everything out of pocket. Nothing against local doctors, but sometimes you need to go outside of the state to seek the proper care. Now you have to pay for plane tickets, lodging, food. So typically in these situations, your income stays the same or it goes down, but unfortunately those expenses usually go up. And when do you think most people, realize these hidden or indirect costs? When it happens. And when it does happen, how many of those folks do you think are financially prepared to take something like this on? Not very many. And looking at this list here, if you were to suffer from a heart attack or heart complication, which one of these indirect costs would affect you the most? And God forbid something were to happen to you today, wouldn't wish this on anyone, but if you were held up and out of work for a while, 3 months, 6 months, a year or longer, what do you have as a backup plan to protect the savings that you have in place and the assets that you own? If you're like most of us, you probably don't have one. So the first line of defense when it comes to mitigating these hidden or indirect costs is dip into savings, college funds, retirement funds, things like that. That stuff is there, but it's definitely not the most fun option to touch. You don't work really hard just to have that all be taken away. After the savings have been wiped out, then people go on to sell the bigger items. Homes, cars, personal items. I'm sure you've heard of people like losing the family farm. So there is a better option, and this is what supplemental coverage was designed for. And this is just put in place to protect your assets, your family, and your savings. And we do that simply by skipping the middleman and paying money directly to you. Health insurance is there to pay the doctors, and we're here to pay you on top of anything else you have in place to keep those bills afloat at home when you're going through something stressful. What's really great is this pays in addition to any other insurance that you own and can provide coverage just for you, but can also be extended to the entire family. So we work with over 13 million policyholders here nationwide. And the reason people are getting something like this is because it's very simple to understand. You're going to know right away if this is for you. Our plans are very affordable. We work with many different people with varying budgets, and it's an easy decision. The coverage is there if you need it, but if you don't end up actually using the policy, we refund every single penny back to you after 25 years of time. And I'll show you how that works here in just a moment. So here's a little bit more about our company. We've been around for 120 years. We have customer service second to none with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and an A+ superior rating from AM Best. And this company's job is just to take insurance companies and give them a credit score. So this is kind of a silly question, but what would happen to someone's credit score if they were unable to make their payments? It would go down. And that AM Best score would go down if we weren't able to pay out our policyholders when they were going through something stressful. So this is an Alan Desmond, and he had one of our heart plans, and he wrote here in this claim, "My November physical turned into an open heart surgery in December. 3 days later, tested positive for COVID. My wife also got COVID while I spent 35 days in 2 different hospitals, 3 weeks in a rehab facility. She kept up with all my reports. Over several months, she spoke to several representatives at Family Heritage. They were all very concerned and helpful in giving her the information on how to file the claims. The money that we received will surely help us being on Social Security. Thank you so much." And obviously, no one plans to have a physical turn into open heart surgery, but when that happened to Alan here, we paid him $23,000. Now, that's not millions of dollars, but could you see how that would relieve a little bit of financial stress if you were dealing with something like that? So luckily, that was the long part of the presentation. The policy itself is just a couple of pages. You might like it, you might not. About half the people we show this to get it, and the other half don't. We definitely know this thing is not for everyone. But after I'm done walking you through all the benefits and presented a clear case for what we do, I just want you to go with your gut and ask yourself, would having something like this make sense and feel good for me to have? So here's the actual policy. As you can see, we have Preferred 4 and Elite 8. The difference between the two is the Elite 8 just pays double what the Preferred pays. However, they cover the same things. Most people want the best because it pays the most when something happens, so I'll just describe the Elite 8 side of things, but all of our policies here are really good. So if you are diagnosed with a heart attack or stroke, we're immediately going to pay you $6,000. Now, why do you suppose we do that? Let me ask you a question. If you had a heart attack and stroke, what do you think you'd be doing tomorrow or the next day? And then we just pay based off what you go through after that. So if you were put into the hospital, we're going to reimburse you $800 a day. If you're in the hospital, you're not working, so we're really going to reimburse that income right up front. So how would it feel knowing if you were in the hospital for 10 days that you'd be getting a check for $14,000 right to your checking account? There is a blood and plasma and ambulance benefit in this plan as well. If you needed to get any sort of surgery related to the accident, we're going to pay up to $24,000 per surgery. The bigger the surgery, the bigger the payout. And your health insurance may cover these things, but this money's just paid directly to you to use in any way you need. Everyone loves this, a wellness benefit. If you need to get checkups, EKG, electrocardiogram, we're going to pay for those benefits as well, up to $240 a year. And if you needed to get a heart transplant, we're going to pay $160,000. Because if you got a heart transplant, you probably wouldn't be getting back up the next day right back to work. When it comes to something as serious as a heart attack, sometimes the local care is not the best option. So we're going to help reimburse you for plane tickets if you needed to travel somewhere. Up to $2,500 per trip. And there is also a family member lodging benefit that will reimburse up to 60 nights per stay for up to $200 a night. I don't know about you, but I can find a pretty good hotel for less than $200. Just some limitations with this plan. This just covers heart disease, heart attack, and stroke. Can't have any pre-existing conditions. And there is a 30-day waiting period. So you can't have a heart attack within those 30 days and expect to be covered. We do also offer an intensive care because there's other things that can affect your family's finances. And I'll go through that in a different video. So just to kind of wrap things up, a few of our commitments to you as a policyholder. These benefits are paid directly to you to use in any way that you need. I honestly see accident and injury claims come in sometimes, and I see people just taking their family to Disneyland. So you can use the money however you want. It doesn't need to be health related. The coverage is guaranteed renewable for life. So no matter how expensive you get to the company, there's never a point where we can drop your policy. Only you can drop your policy. We win some awards for this one. Your phone call is answered by a live person. So no speaking to robots when you're going through something stressful. And what's really great is your premium does not increase with age or because of claims. So whatever you initially qualify for is the rate that you're locked in for the decades to come. And it's not like car insurance. If something happens, your rate doesn't go up. We've actually never raised the rate on anyone. So I don't know if you've looked into what health insurance would cost if you were paying out of pocket per month, but we work with many different policyholders, farmers, self-employed folks, people that run their own businesses. And on the low end for health insurance, we hear anywhere from $600 to $800 a month. And on the high end, anywhere from $1,500 to well over $2,000 a month. So a lot of people expect something like this that covers over 30 different benefits, that pays the money directly to you with no lifetime cap to be about the same price. But in this example, we'll choose someone aged 41 to 45. And instead of paying, $1,500, $1,000 for an individual to be covered at this rate, the top level of coverage would be $85.20 a month. And that Unit 4 level of coverage would only be $45.60. And like I said, that's the rate that you're locked into for the decades to come, which is really nice. When I was catching up with Lizzie a little earlier this week, she was honestly like, Sam, looking at some of these plans, I think I spend more on Amazon every week. And I spend a ridiculous amount on my phone for something that's going to protect me financially if something does happen. These numbers just kind of make sense. And this plan makes sense even if you never submit a claim. So there's only one of three things that can happen. Your money either comes back through claims if something does happen, a savings check if nothing does, and then just a combination of the two if something small happens. I'm going to use the elite level of coverage just to show you an example of how this return of premium works. So we're going to do 85.20. We're going to times that by 12, and then we're going to times that by 25. Now, obviously, we hope that nothing ever happens, which in this case, we're just going to come back in 25 years and cut you a check for over $25,000. I don't know about you, but I call that a pretty good day. Now, typically something does happen. 25 years is a pretty decent chunk of time. So say, let's pay you, random number, $15,000 when you really needed it. Say you had a couple health scares. Now, this is kind of a silly question, teetering on a stupid question, but would you rather take out $15,000 from your own account, go and take out a loan, or just have us cover that cost for you? Right. And at this point, we're still going to come back in 25 years and cut you a check for over $10,000. So you're never throwing any money away. Now, the real reason people get something like this is let's say we paid you, $20,000, $50,000, all the way up to over $100,000. At that point, we're not going to come back and cut you a return of premium check because we've already paid you a lot more than what you put in. But you're also not having to file for bankruptcy, sell everything that you own, and you're still covered. So the only way you can really lose here is if you need to have a plan and you don't have one. A lot of different people like different things about us. I know when I was talking to Melissa, she just really liked the fact that these plans were affordable. She's a single mom of 3 kids. She said having something like this wouldn't take any meals away from my family, but if I did need to use it, it sure would provide a lot of meals. And Daniel, he's not the best with his money, so he just wanted someone to save for him. And if he got hurt or sick, that money would come back. He said that's good for me. And Andrea, she just really liked the fact that the money was in her control. She's had a husband that worked in construction for a long time, and she's seen the loopholes that people have had to jump through to get their money. So she just really liked that aspect of control. But for you, what did you like most about this plan? And knowing that you have nothing else in place like this, why would having something like this make sense and feel good for your family to have. Can you see why so many people have been getting something like this? So that was the policy for the heart attack and stroke plan. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to my number on the information page, information tab. There's also a couple green buttons that you can book an appointment now. And if you'd like to get more information about pricing or coverage, you can select the pricing option. And underneath there, there's a brochure that will tell you everything that's covered for the rate of your age. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really, really appreciate you and your time. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we'll talk soon.